And I wanted to beam in today to really share 11 key elements that are coming up that will be deeply supportive for us through these unprecedented times, and to really dive in with those with you today, and also to share a bit more about our upcoming 9-week deep surrender ritual and support circle that starts tomorrow. So really, those of you who've been seeing my posts and perhaps that are part of our community know that deep surrender has been an enormous theme moving for me right now, and also for the collective. And this idea that not only is surrender a major theme, but also trust. We are really being asked to deeply trust in this profound collective initiation that we are in. What some people are referring to a process of evolutionary mutation into the new divine human, or Homo luminous. And so really to lean in to this divine plan unfolding, knowing that there is a much greater intelligence than we will ever know that is operating. And we are the caterpillars that are in the imaginal soup. We are in the chrysalis, and not yet knowing our capacity to be brilliant technicolor butterflies. So knowing that we are in this place, and that this is really what deep surrender is calling of us, and that we are all being stretched far beyond our capacities at this point. Let's be real, all of us. And this is really a time of testing, of deep, deep testing, of soul level testing. So it's really paramount that we take time and space for soul care and deep restoration at this time more than ever, so we can really remain resilient for these times ahead. So we must be willing to disappoint others before we will disappoint ourselves, or before we will abandon our own soul. That's a huge lesson that I see coming up for so many of us right now. So really inviting you here to take some time and space to absorb these 11 key elements that are really going to be of deep support during this time of great chaos and uncertainty and unknown. And so the first one is really accepting what is, acceptance, and deeply surrendering to this collective initiation so that we can receive its gifts. Initiations are never easy. They are usually deeply trying soul ordeals, but they bring us into more of who we are. They are soul clarifying events that help us to strip away all that is no longer serving, to really remove the veils, which unveiling is the meaning of the word apocalypse. And so really in this great unveiling, it reveals more of our soul essence, more of our unique soul sparkle, more of who we are here to be. And so that's why I am really inviting us into this deep acceptance and surrender of what is, so we can receive these gifts. And surrender is not giving up or rolling over or throwing up our hands. That isn't what surrender is. It's being in acceptance and simultaneously showing up as an instrument of love and action to offer our gifts and medicine towards the collective birth of the new earth that is emergent, to this evolutionary mutation that we're undergoing. So number 2 is really rooting in deep and rigorous sacred spiritual practice. So many of us have been on this journey for some time, or even if you're new to the journey, the idea of really engaging often in practices that help to bring us back to our center, that help to remind us of who we are and why we are here. These practices that bring us to that still point within, that help us center in the chaos of the storm. So really leaning into those practices now, even when we might feel like there is no time, that we need to be showing up for this and this and this and this. One of my spiritual teachers in the past used to say, you should always meditate or do spiritual practice for at least a half an hour, but when you're really busy, you need to do it for an hour. It's this antithesis of really finding that still point, finding that center, aligning with our truth so that we can show up in the world fully, not out of balance, so that we are grounded and centered. So that's really number 2, rooting in this rigorous spiritual practice now. And number 3 is staying deeply connected with loved ones in soul family and sacred sisterhood. This is really a time to go even deeper with people that we cherish in our lives. It's people that see us, people that uphold us, people that know us, people that can witness us in our strengths as well as our vulnerabilities. People that can hold us if we just need to sit and cry and move through what is coming up for us. But people who really witness and hold us in our truth. These are the people, the beings that we want to be deepening with now, because they are going to help give us this resiliency and strength as we move forward. And especially the nourishment that comes from sacred sisterhood, which is like manna for the soul in no other way that I have really experienced in my life. And really drawing from that deep well of nourishment, just like the hummingbird medicine, where the hummingbird, memorizes thousands of flowers, and it goes back only to the ones that nourishes it the most. So who are those beings? Where are those places that we are most deeply nourished? And how can we return to those again and again now for that deep sustenance? The way I've been seeing it is almost like putting in these support pillars all around us to help create almost this sacred, holy sanctuary to hold us and weather us through the storm. And this is definitely something that I'm going to be guiding us through in our upcoming 9-week Deep Surrender Circle as well. So number 4 is making expressive art and singing and dancing and creating from the chaos, because we are in a great time of chaos, and there is a beauty in chaos. There is a beauty in the darkness that we are in, because it is in the darkness, it is in the chrysalis, it is in the womb, the blackness of the womb, that all new creations become possible, where they are seated. And so this idea, a friend of mine reminded me of this weekend, all great art comes from the fall. And so if we are in a sense in a fall, what is the great art that wants to emerge? What is this new earth that wants to be birthed? The new divine human that wants to come from this? So really tapping into that energy and using these practices that go beyond words, that allow our expression to come through in our ecstatic embodiment, which is, such a core piece of the ecstatic embodied leadership work that we do in our community. And really allowing ourselves to ground into those practices, especially expressive art, because it allows you to access a secret language of the soul, of colors and of textures and of ways of interacting and languages that are beyond what we have words for. Because much of what is happening is beyond words. We don't even have words. There are no words for what is happening. So finding these other means of communication and leaning in deeply to them. And with singing, it can also be sounding, using the voice to emote, to heal, to be a channel, even if it's just and feeling the deep resonance of that in your bones, that simple gesture, and how it can be a form of that rigorous spiritual practice and help bring us back to ourselves. So that is really number 4, and we're going to be engaging in lots of that in our Deep Surrender Circle too. So number 5 is moving emotions through the body, because there's so much emotion. There is so much grief. There is so much sadness. There is so much disbelief. There is so much deep suffering, and it can get stuck in our cells. It can get stuck in our organs. So really being mindful to move this energy through, not to bypass it, but to feel it all fully. to feel it in every cell. So you receive the gifts from it and then move it through. And this is through dance, through shaking, through koya movement that we do in our community. These are ways to really stay resilient and to be able to help process all that is happening at this time. And also joy, not forgetting the space for joy and for play and these other energies that we also need to continue to invite in, regardless of how intense the journey gets, regardless of how rocky the seas become, regardless of how intense the storm is. Continuing to bring in these nourishing life paths, these life ways, to ground into the sacred so that we can move through this with grace and ease together. So number 6 is focusing on your physical health and well-being to really prime your vessel as a channel for the divine to pour through. Because we really are obviously at a time of a global pandemic where health is on the forefront. Being in our wellness on all levels of our being, and that's not just our physical health, but being really mindful of what we take into our bodies, what foods, what beverages, what news, what people, what information, and knowing that that all can either be a form of deep nourishment or also can be a form of harm for our vessels, for our sacred body temples. So really asking now, how can I bring in wellness, deep, holistic wellness on all levels of my being? How can I add in perhaps one food that can support my immune system right now, or one supplement? Sugar-free zinc lozenges are a great way, for example, to bring in a piece of immunity at this time. There are so many different ways. And so we'll be going deeper into this in the Deep Surrender Circle too, but just wanted to bring that forward, this consideration of really being in peak health and well-being for this journey, so that we can be the channels for this rebirth process that is underway, so we can be the channels for this creativity, this ignition of creativity that wants to come through at this time. And number 7 is really staying inspired and surrounded by beauty to maintain grounded visionary hope. And this is really important because there will be moments when we will lose hope, when we will feel totally hopeless. I know I've been in those moments already, and I know that you have too. I'm even getting a little teary here around it because that's what's real. This can feel really hopeless. It can feel like we are trying to slog up a mountain, that we are trying to crawl, teeth and nails scraping against these systems of oppression and violence that have harmed us, that have harmed our earth, that have wounded our spirits and our souls. But surrounding ourselves with inspiration and with beauty and reminders of who we are and why we are here will help us to stay the course, truly leaning into that deeply. And in beauty, that can be anything that you find beautiful, even if it's making sure you have flowers in your home that maybe you go pick in the wild field, or maybe it's, making sure that you have your favorite salt next to the bath or essential oil, whatever it might be for you to find beauty, that you wear colors that uplift and inspire you, that instigate and inspire your chakras, like yellow, to help have that willpower of the solar plexus for us to move forward and merge with the divine will of this collective initiation that we're in, and to continue to ask for guidance. How do you want me to show up now? How am I being called to serve now? And really allowing that to come through. So, that piece is just so essential, and finding what that is for you. I also really love crystal support, holding one right now, because that brings in that earth medicine, that super grounding earth medicine. And crystals also can bring in that beauty element too, flowers, herbs, different elements to really support. And that can also support the health and well-being in your body as well. Even with my torn ligament injury and high sprain on my ankle, ankle, I have my own medicine bag that is literally strapped around my boot that has crystals that help repair torn ligaments and that help to offer their energy to that healing process to help restore the body. And, knowing for me, this initiation of my ankle was an invitation just to slow down and really sink into this initiation and to deeply surrender to what is here and to take people with me on this dark night of the globe into the darkness, to journey through together, to contain and create an intimate constellation of sovereign sisters that are sparkling shamelessly on the path, to create that matrix of light within the darkness, because that's what happens when we gather. And that's number 9 on the list. Actually, I'll go ahead. It's around gathering in sacred circles and beloved community, because that is how we stay the course. That is truly how we are able to remain resilient. It is the deepest medicine, and I believe it is the antidote to the chaos and uncertainty at this time. Because when we gather in sacred circles, we have this relational field. We have this resonance field. And not only does it amplify our prayers and our intentions and all that we bring to it, but it also serves to strengthen us because it is a mirror. We can witness all that is happening. We know that we are not alone. We are upheld. We are loved. We are seen. We are celebrated. And we are deeply held through whatever is moving. It is this space where we are allowed to show up as we are. And it's okay if we're not okay, and to show up that way. Because if you are okay and happy in this time of complete breakdown and chaos, then that's something to look at. There are going to be moments where we are absolutely not okay. And it's okay to not be okay. And we need to find those spaces where we can be held in our real, raw, true, authentic vulnerability. And that's what the medicine of sacred circles and beloved community truly offers to us. And that's why I believe it is a deep antidote at this time for the chaos and uncertainty. And it's also why we are gathering in this intimate, deep surrender circle for the 9 weeks. The next 9 weeks, it was a deep call from Spirit to gather us at this time, to really journey through together the election and beyond. Whether you're in the United States or not, everyone is being affected by what is happening here on U.S. soil, certainly. And, we're all intimately connected in this web. We are seeing that now. The pandemic gave us that gift of the web of interconnectivity and how deeply connected we all are. And that it is paramount to lean into that web of interbeing now. And sacred circles remind us of that and how to do that. They bring us back home to the sacred. And that is one of the greatest medicines that our world needs today. It is an antidote, I believe, to the violence, the overt and covert violence, to the oppression, to the division, to the divisiveness that is here, that is soul-crushing. Regathering together in sacred circles is an antidote to this. So I truly invite you, whether you come into our deep surrender circle or whether you find another space, to make sure you have that sacred support to journey through at this time. I urge and implore you. This is the essential element to make it through in these times. And before I go on, well, let me keep going. So the next one is to really offer your deep medicine and unique soul sparkle in service to the new earth as an instrument of love in action. So as we show up in sacred circles, we are reminded of who we are and why we're here. And it gives us that strength each day to show up and to ask, how am I to serve? How am I to show up? How am I to walk as love? In our community, we journey through the 13 pillars of the sacred art of sparkling shamelessly. And one of the core pillars is to walk as love in the world. And so this is really one of those elements that allows us and also gives us hope, because when we show up, instead of just dwelling in the misery and instead offer our gifts and medicine and service to what is happening, to the change, to the shift, it uplifts our soul and our spirit. It gives us purpose. We are meaning generators. We're meaning making beings. And so as we bring our unique soul sparkle forward, we add our meaning to the world and to what is needed most at this time. And so that was our number 8, since we skipped to number 9. And number 10 is really engaging in soul strengthening and healing rituals. And rituals and ceremony have truly saved my life, for those of you who know me and know my journey. And ritual at this time is so profound because it can help us move through grief. It can help us heal. It can help us center in the calm. It can help us root back into what matters most. It can help us to remember. It can help us to retrieve those parts of our soul that have been lost. And there's so many other gifts that ritual can bring to us. And it's one of the reasons that we're really going to be rooting in these ritual practices, especially of soul care and resiliency, during the Deep Surrender Circle. Because it is truly a way to come back home to ourselves and the sacred and what matters most. And when we are aligned with that, we can move through anything, because we have that connection with our inner guidance, with our truth. And our truth is our soul home. And speaking from, coming from, acting from that deep place gives us the strength to move through anything. And as we gather in sacred circle, we help to uphold and celebrate those markers with each other as well. And the final one that I wanted to share today is trusting the divine plan unfolding. Again, we are like the caterpillar in the chrysalis, in the dark, murky soup of imaginal cells, and we have no idea that we're going to become these brilliant technicolor butterflies. We do not yet know the divine plan that is unfolding in this grand evolutionary initiation. Just as the fish that landed on the shore gasping for air and breath many, many, many millennia ago, they didn't know that they would become birds in the grand evolutionary unfolding. And so really being curious about how we're meant to fly, how we're meant to root, to rise and shine and soar in these times of great uncertainty and chaos. Because I believe that is part of the gift and the medicine of this time that we are in, of this time of great pain and suffering. And that is not to negate the pain and suffering. We do not want to bypass it. Again, we want to feel it all fully and let it ignite our inner feminine flame to action so that we can walk as love. That's another pillar in the sacred art of sparkling shamelessly, is to ignite our inner fierce feminine flame. That will allow us to burn. But the essence and the essential element is that we must maintain a sustainable burn, for we will burn out. This must be a sustainable sacred revolution that we are leading. And so really gathering again in sacred community and sacred circles to engage in these deep rituals will be that nourishment to sustain us for the journey ahead, so that we can be resourced to show up as embodied leaders and new earth midwives and visionary creatives of this new world, of the new human, of how we're really being called to show up. So that's really what I wanted to share with you, these 11 key elements that are going to deeply support us through these unprecedented times that we're in. And we're going to be engaging in all of these, every single one, in our upcoming 9-week Deep Surrender Circle. And we begin tomorrow, and we meet consecutively every Thursday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for 7 weeks. And then we have 2 wildcard sessions that we have added on that we're going to schedule as we need them based on what is unfolding in the world. Especially with the astrology around the election, I sense that we are going to need them. I'm going to talk a lot more about that inside the circle as well, leaning into ancient wisdom as well to help ground us in these times for what is here. And again, I really believe the antidote to the chaos and the uncertainty is gathering in sacred circle and beloved community. So again, if, whether you desire to really come and surrender and receive and be held through the election beyond in our deep surrender circle, or you find another space, just make sure you get that support online at this time. I really deeply urge you and uphold you and support you and see you and cherish you bringing your medicine and gifts to the world at this time and your unique soul sparkle, because it is deeply needed, beloved. It is deeply, deeply needed. So please know that we are here in our Soul Sparkle Sanctuary community, and we are on the journey together, traveling, and really inviting you to deepen in a way that feels resonant. And if you feel the call, please feel free to join us. I put the link here in the description. And just for being here, watching all the way through, I would love to offer you an $111 coupon off with the code Weather the Storm in all capitals. So again, $111 coupon off to join us if you feel the call, beloved. Now would be the time to step in. There's only a few spots left. We would be so honored to journey through this dark night of the globe with you together. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments below here and just to tag me, and I will be happy to answer them for you. And before we sign off, there's one other thing that I wanted to share with you, which is really actually how the call came for this journey, was through this oracle card that came through during our Koya movement gathering in Sisterhive on the full moon last month. Well, actually in August, full moon in August. And so this idea of deep surrender just really overtook, and the message said, let go, trust, step into the unknown, root to rise and shine and soar. Anchor in for the storm ahead. Go deep into spirit space. Lean into the web of all life. She, the mother, will catch you. So I want to leave you with that, beloved, and I so hope to gather with you in Sacred Circle soon, regardless if it is in deep surrender or another journey. We're going to be doing lots of gatherings coming up as we move through this portal into 2021. So know that we are here for you. I deeply, deeply love and cherish you, and that I see you, and you're in my heart. And sending so much love your way, beloveds. And we will see you soon. Bye for now.